It's mid-May in Las Vegas, which means one thing. EDC is coming to town, and with it, thousands of electronic music fans will fill up the Las Vegas Motor Speedway this weekend. But with that party and the recreational substances that come with it, also comes a serious risk: opioid overdoses. And today on CityCast Las Vegas, we talk with Leah Shepherd, the executive director of the nonprofit Victoria's Voice, to discuss how attitudes about staying safe at EDC are changing and why that matters. It's Thursday, May 14th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. All right, Leah, thanks for joining the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Can you let our listeners at home know a little bit about what it is that Victoria's Voice does and how you guys started?
Sure. We started about 11 years ago. A young woman named Victoria Siegel died of an accidental drug overdose at 18 years of age. And her parents are significant business leaders in the Central Florida community. Her dad owns a large hospitality brand nationwide called Westgate. And they knew, as most parents do, that their daughter had been experimenting with some level of substance use, but certainly not to the extent where they thought that she would die of a drug overdose when they were out of town. When the first responders arrived at their home, Victoria still had a pulse. But in 2015, believe it or not, first responders did not carry Naloxone, which is commonly known as the brand Narcan. And she lost her life on the way to the hospital. And so in the immediate aftermath of their death, the Siegel family spent their time and effort and focused their energy on launching a foundation where our mission stands on the pillars of naloxone awareness and distribution, drug education for parents. David and Jackie say they missed the signs, that their daughter's substance use was more than what they had anticipated. So we have a parent education program called Vital Signs. And then we have school speaker assemblies throughout the country. We have bereaved parents that speak in schools and at PTA meetings. They're called our Angel Army. And it's our Save Our Kids education program. So that's the focus of our mission and what we do.
Gotcha. And you mentioned up until, a handful of years ago, medics weren't carrying naloxone. What exactly does it do, and why weren't they carrying it until recently?
It's fascinating. It's been approved by the FDA since 1971. It's an opioid reversal agent. If you've ever been in surgery, your anesthesiologist has had naloxone in the surgical room. So it's been around for years, and it wasn't until the opioid epidemic and the crisis hit our country that the medical industry started realizing that this had a more prevalent use, day-to-day use for people who were suffering from opioid overdose and opioid addiction. And so it simply reverses the impact of opioids, an opioid overdose in people. It doesn't reverse other drugs. It has to be an opioid, but that's exactly what it does. It's that simple.
And this week, you guys are actually offering free naloxone to EDC-goers here in Las Vegas. I'm curious, what is it about EDC, this event, that warrants something like this to where you guys want to make sure that you are there to hand this out?
There's, really whenever you have a large gathering of young people, you have an opportunity where there's going to be some substance use or substance misuse. EDC has such a high volume of concert goers and attendees over the course of the festival. And it's really just an opportunity. Our Westgate, one of our partner, or kind of our parent company of this nonprofit, hosts a lot of the guests at EDC at their hotel. And we just saw it as a good opportunity to get in front of them before they leave the hotel and head to the concert and arm them with life-saving tools.
And I'm sure there's people at home wondering, well, like, wait, why are you handing this out rather than talking like, hey, just don't do drugs? And I know it's not always that easy, but why is the, message to hand out the naloxone rather than like, hey, maybe just don't do these drugs?
I think if telling people don't do drugs worked, people wouldn't do drugs.
Yeah.
If life were that simple, we all know the Just Say No campaign in the 1980s. The war on drugs started in this country under the Nixon administration back in the early 70s. That's when the DEA was formed. So if the war on drugs worked, and if saying no worked, then I wouldn't have a job, and I would love to be out of a job. It doesn't work. People are going to use substances, and I'd much rather have them not die of an overdose if they're going to use, rather than just scold them and say you shouldn't have done drugs in the first place. That's not real. And if it was your child or your sister or your brother, you'd want the same. Yeah,
no, and I think that's very fair. And I'm curious, like, what the interaction has been like, with festival goers when they come by. What are the conversations like in an event like this?
We have great conversations. We learned a lot. Last year was our first year of doing it, and we were armed with Naloxone, Narcan, of course. What we love is that the stigma isn't there, that people are happy to take it, happy to carry it, happy to talk about it. They don't see it as a stigma to carry Naloxone in their backpack, in their purse, to carry around, even every day. What we also learned, we had a lot of guests ask for fentanyl test strips, which we didn't have last year because it's just not something that really is part of our mission. But we went ahead and got some this year because if festival goers are asking for them, and if it prevents them from using something that might potentially cause an overdose, then we wanted to be able to distribute some of them.
Yeah, and I understand last year at the event, you guys actually ran out fairly quickly, so it seems that there's a really big demand for it.
There is. Naloxone required a prescription up until 2023. And in March of 2023, the FDA changed it so that it is an over-the-counter drug and you can get it at your grocery store, pharmacy, anywhere, which is great, but it's a little cost prohibitive. I mean, one box of it with 2 doses is about $50. And for some people, that's just not something that they can afford. So I think part of the success was not only the access, that it was easy to grab it leaving the hotel, but it's free.
Again, this conversation's being had, so maybe people are approaching it differently. Like, how have you seen the impact, firsthand from events like this?
Thankfully, we don't get any feedback of what the overdose deaths may or may not have been at these concerts, but just getting it's positive reinforcement for us. I think that this is the right thing to do, that people are receptive to it. We'll do some festivals and some giveaways. We did a military weekend about a year ago, and we had a lot of the parents walk by and go, "Oh, my kids don't do drugs. I don't need that." Well, it's not about whether or not your kids do drugs. You don't know who's in the back seat of your minivan when you're driving home from soccer practice and what that kid may have in their backpack or what they may have been exposed to. And so really our goal is to make it as ubiquitous as carrying an EpiPen. We use the analogy all the time. You probably have a fire extinguisher somewhere in your house or probably in your kitchen under your sink. You don't plan on having a fire in your house, but it's nice to have that fire extinguisher just in case you do. And we say the same thing about carrying Narcan.
Yeah, and again, a really fair point. Like, how many of us do have a fire extinguisher underneath the sink or something? And when is the last time you've had to use it? But better to be prepared than not. So I guess the grand question in all of this is, like, are you seeing a changing in the attitude of these festival goers, in just, yes, accepting of the fact, like, hey, there's going to be drugs used at these events, but that they're like, hey, we want to make sure we're prepared. Like, how is the attitude, I guess, changed? Whereas in the past, I'm sure, they don't even care. They're like, oh, whatever, I'm going to go up there, have fun.
It's part of not caring. It's part of not understanding that Narcan really does work. And it's also part of, well, if I take it, then I'm admitting that I have drugs. I'm admitting that I might be using. And so nobody wanted to admit it. Just like parents, my child doesn't do drugs. Well, you don't know that your child doesn't do drugs unless you drug test them every day. So I think seeing the attitude in these concert goers change is begin that reducing of the stigma is that I'm going to take this. And if it means people think I'm doing drugs, so be it. But at least I'm not going to die from it.
What have your interactions been like with the people putting on the events and stuff like this? Like, have you had much conversation with them, and how do they feel about it all?
It's Insomniac, who the people who produce these concerts nationwide are fantastic. They welcome this. They actually, inside the walls of the festival, partner with a fantastic national organization called End Overdose. And they actually have volunteers that are walking through the festival, distributing Narcan right there live within festival goers who want it. And so, again, kudos to them, to these event producers, for understanding that there's a need and trying to keep their patrons as safe as possible.
Zenleaf Las Vegas is celebrating its 10-year anniversary with All In at 10 and 10 straight days of daily themed deals, in-store activations, and vendor pop-ups across all locations in Las Vegas. Visit Zenleaf Las Vegas between May 21st and May 30th to join the All In at 10 celebration. Customers can enjoy exclusive promotions and expect new surprises throughout. Plus, a portion of the proceeds from each day will support one of 10 local nonprofits and give back to the community as well. In-store shoppers can also pick up the 10-year anniversary playbook, which is a limited edition keepsake that unlocks rewards and prizes through purchases and activations. Zenleaf's Flamingo and Fort Apache locations offer deli-style flour, allowing customers to see and smell before it's weighed fresh. Drive-through pickup is available at Flamingo and Fort Apache, while North Las Vegas customers can take advantage of delivery directly from the Zenleaf team. And CityCast Las Vegas listeners can also unlock special in-store savings when they mention us or the newsletter. Zenleaf continues to make cannabis shopping approachable, engaging, and convenient for both new and experienced customers. Search Zenleaf Las Vegas online to find your nearest location and browse deals ahead of your visit.
Step into the movies with the Neon Museum's new movie tour in the heart of Las Vegas. Take a guided walk through real neon backdrops that have actually appeared in some of Hollywood's most memorable scenes over the decades. Your tour starts in the iconic La Concha Motel lobby, which is now the Neon Museum's visitor center, and a key setting in Scorsese's film Casino. Stand where Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone filmed their romantic evening as Ace and Ginger, and then wander the world-famous neon boneyard surrounded by vintage marquees and historic signs. Plus, you'll connect neon landmarks to films like Casablanca, Superman, and The Joe Louis Story. Relive the comedy of Vegas Vacation as you walk among signs tied to Chevy Chase's classic. You'll hear insider stories and fun trivia that bring these movie moments to life and capture unforgettable photos. So join fellow cinephiles on a one-of-a-kind tour that turns the Neon Museum into your own movie set. Check out the Neon Museum's new movie tour and discover how Las Vegas earned its reputation as the entertainment capital of the world through film.
Has there also been discussion, with local emergency, responders and things like that, first responders that are dealing with these folks? What have those discussions been like as you guys are, again, I think I would imagine making an impact on what their response calls are like?
It certainly has. There's, again, dating back to when Victoria died and saying that the first responders, and this is in Orlando, Florida. This is a major metropolitan city. It's not like she was in the middle of Iowa somewhere where you're like, well, it was, kind of a rural town. Maybe the first responders don't have the funding or access. This is Orlando, Florida, where 72 million people a year come to this city. And what David and Jackie noticed that for some of the police departments and some of first responders, it was a funding issue. And so they actually funded the first time for UCF, the university here in Central Florida, to carry Narcan. And so some of our conversations with them initially were thank you for funding it and bringing awareness to it. But now they see us as a partner. It's just that we're all working hand in hand. And the more that we can get it out there to the general public could prevent some of their calls.
Yeah, and I guess overall in Clark County, too, the numbers have gone down over the last year in terms of opioid-related overdose deaths, which is a great sign, obviously. And that's coincided with a massive increase in the number of naloxone doses that the county's giving out. What do you make of that, kind of paired with our discussion here today?
Yeah, the statistics were encouraging that came out from the CDC last year that's showing that nationwide overdose deaths reduced 24%. And they're crediting it to education of people paying attention and understanding the threat that fentanyl has now posed synthetic drugs into the marketplace for people who use substances, but also the access and distribution for Narcan that is just so much more widely and readily available.
Is it really that simple as just like handing out the test strips and naloxone, or is there something more here?
It's all we can do is educate and make people aware. And I know the word awareness is trite and overused, but the truth of the matter it is, until I started in this role 4 years ago, I didn't know about it. And the education is working. And I think it kind of is that simple.
They're all tough conversations to have, but it's nice that it's as simple as like, hey, let's give this out and give people access for that. I am curious. You mentioned the fact of funding and things like that. A lot of these, it seems like, are one-time grants that have allowed these health agencies to keep the supply of naloxone flowing. Is it as simple as like, here's the grants, or how do we fix this long-term to make sure people still have access to this on a regular basis?
You may be aware of the massive opioid settlement funds, the lawsuits that happened against Purdue Pharma and some of the drug CVS Pharmacy, Walmart paid these settlements. And those settlements have been distributed to all states through something called the CARA Act. And I know that's technical and a lot of mumbo jumbo, but now states have funding for free naloxone from every single state through the CARA Act and through opioid settlement funds. And so that's where we get our Narcan from. In the states where we work and where we distribute it is through opioid settlement funds, which makes it, again, so much more accessible and affordable for the general public.
Numbers wise, what are we talking about? Like what you guys are able to receive from that? Like how much of a difference is it actually from how things were before?
Oh my gosh. We distribute probably well over 10,000 doses of naloxone per year, whether it's through community health fairs, through tabling at universities, these type of festivals, these events. For us to be able to have it for free, we wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise, even if there was a discount through one of the providers. It's night and day be able to get this into the hands of people.
So how do we keep this going? Like, what's the next step, to continue to make sure things are turning in the right direction here?
I think the people who carry it are really our biggest ambassadors. Because it's one thing for us as a nonprofit where this is our mission. And of course, we're going to tell you to carry it. But to have all of these younger people out on the streets carrying it and talking about it, whether it's through social media, through their social circles at work, at school, their fraternities, sororities, word of mouth like that is really going to prevail and help us get the word out.
Yeah, and having conversations is key, and that's why I'm so glad we're doing this here on the podcast today as well. And I guess if you just look broadly at the opioid crisis as a whole, how would you say we're doing? I mean, the numbers seem promising. Are we really making headway, or is there still a lot more work to go?
Well, I don't think the drug problem is ever going to go away. Whether if it's not opioids, then it's going to be synthetic drugs. It's just every time it's whack-a-mole. Every time you turn around, there's something else that is put in front of kids, and the access for them to be able to purchase drugs through social media is terrifying for parents. I think that with the opioid crisis, why you see a large part of the reduction in numbers too is the restrictions that have been put around prescription writing with physicians. The pill mills have closed down. You can no longer, write a 6-month prescription giving away 90 pills a month to people. And so that has really limited a lot of the unintended abuse by people who were going in for surgery, and a month later, they're a drug addict.
Yeah, obviously you want to avoid all of that. I would imagine a lot of this too, again, you guys are having conversations with these festival goers, like meeting them kind of where they are. I think a really important thing is for families to, have these discussions with their kids, family members, things like that. What advice would you give, to families at home in terms of like, knowing, hey, if you're going to EDC or just any big event like this, how do you start that conversation?
I think parents start the conversation with just telling their kids that, this is a safe conversation. You're not going to get in trouble. If you tell me that that you and your friends may have something going on, I would much rather have you mad at me. I would much rather get in a fight with my child than have them come home in a body bag. And I think you rip the Band-Aid off and have that conversation with your child, because if you don't, somebody else is going to. Whether it's a drug dealer or one of their friends, of course your messaging is always to not do drugs. Of course you don't want them using, but they're going to be around people that do. And should they experiment or get some sort of contamination of fentanyl because of where they are, you want them armed with Narcan to save their life.
In your discussion with families, with parents and stuff like that, how difficult are those conversations to be had? Or has the messaging kind of changed as we've seen, again, these numbers move in the right direction? Are those conversations getting easier for folks because of the work that your organization is doing?
Yes and no. I mean, for starters, again, you have a lot of naivete with parents who really don't want to think it's their child. It's not my child. My child's making good grades. My child plays football. Kids who make good grades die of drug overdoses. Kids who play football die of drug overdoses. It's part of it is just naivete and parents of really thinking it's not going to be their kid. But a lot of parents will tell us they don't want to start the conversation because they don't want their child to get mad at them.
Yeah.
And that's when we say, wouldn't you rather have your child be mad at you than end up in the hospital or worse?
I'm 35 years old, but like back in the day, it was obviously, a little bit different. You weren't seeing things like fentanyl laced in a bunch of different stuff. Like, is that a big reason as to why it's so important that it's not just like hey, they're just kids being kids trying at one time? Like, again, like you want to make sure there's real education and discussion happening, because one time can be the last time, like not to be hyperbolic here.
You're not being hyperbolic. The DEA's campaign is literally called One Pill Can Kill. And it's not drama and it's not clickbait. One pill can kill. And yeah, that education is important. It's not the drugs that existed when in our generation growing up in high school and even college. The marijuana that kids get access to today, despite the fact that it might be legal from a recreational standpoint or a medical marijuana standpoint, is not the same marijuana that was homegrown that people were consuming back in the 80s and even in the 90s. The synthetic drugs are not going away because they're not affected by climate change. They're not affected by drought. You don't have to worry about growing your crop. You can make those in your, in a lab. It's not going away. And with fentanyl laced in drugs, you hear story after story about a 12-year-old kid just happened in Orlando a few weeks ago, tried pot for the first time. It was laced with fentanyl and he died. This kid didn't overdose. He was murdered. He was poisoned. In the earlier, honestly, that parents can start having these conversations, the better.
It's a tough game to deal with, again, as things constantly change. And, it's one of those races that, you just have to try and stay ahead of it any chance you can with having conversations. You guys are promoting those conversations. So thank you guys for the work that you're doing. For anybody at home and the listeners, that want more information on not only this event, but what you guys are doing as an organization, where can they go to find out more?
And go to our website at victoriasvoice.org. All the information about our education programs, vital signs, like I mentioned, our parent prevention education program, or how to book an assembly at your school with one of our speakers are on our website. And everything that we do is free to the public. We don't charge for any of our education programs, any of our speakers' assemblies.
Awesome. Well, hey, look, it's that easy, and making it free is even better as well. So you got to love that. Where exactly, remind the folks as we go out here again, where the event's going on?
Our Narcan giveaway is going on at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort in the North Tower. We're in the lobby. You aren't going to be able to miss us. We have a huge display. And whether or not you're staying at the hotel or even going to the concert, if you're a local family, a mom there in Vegas, and you want to come by and get some free Narcan, please do. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. this Friday.
Awesome. Leah, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate the insight and info from you.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter too. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.